Ever since around the start of the 2020 election cycle, back when the Dems were all starting to file the massive clown car that was the the Democratic hopefuls, the like 50 billion of them who were on stage at one point. Remember back, like when the Democratic primary started, where there was like 50 Democratic nominees who made the cut, and like they had to split up the debate nights between like three nights or whatever, with like 10 people on stage. It was insane. There were so many people up there. All right. Ever since then, a little thing has been bubbling through the community, and been something that a lot of Democratic hopefuls have been having to talk about. This thing, it's called reparations, okay? And Tucker Carlson said it. I wouldn't doubt it, dude. Reparations has always been like a difficult topic for a lot of people, because the country still is quite split on it. The country at large is pretty split on it. A good amount of Democrats are pretty split on it. Republicans aren't split on it because they just don't like it at all. They don't care. They're like, slavery done, slavery gone. Just get good. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap, whatever, omega lol. You know, stuff like that. Just stop shooting each other, omega lol. So for the Democrats, at least, this had to be a topic they had to grapple with, and lots of Democrats up there had lots of different ideas. You know, there was Julian. What was it? There was Julian Castro who said we should have a conversation about it. Kamala Harris, who took every single position under the sun and went back on it when she got questioned on it, and went back to like the most conservative position while still being called a Democrat that she can on it. While on stage, there was Charles Booker. Not my bad. Sorry, not Charles Booker. What was it? Is that Charles Booker? No, wait, no. Wait, Cory Booker. My bad. Charles Booker. That's a different guy. My bad. Sorry. Oh my, it's my racism speaking. I think all black people look the same. Oops, whoopsie. Cory Booker came out with probably the closest to saying that he would actually do reparations and he was the like one of the only like black people on stage, and he was like, yeah, we should make a committee to think about it. And that's basically the closest that you could get to someone actually coming out and saying that they were for reparations, like as people kind of colloquially think about reparations. Bernie had an interesting take, and I kind of fall on the Bernie side of the camp, where people talk about reparations. The first thing that comes to their head when they think of reparations is just money, just a money injection to a certain demographic of people who were harmed in this way or that, for certain reasons. Okay. So for reparations, when it comes to African Americans in this country, ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, for these sorts of people, we talk about reparations because that is the community that usually sees the most harm and has been the most affected. One of the most affected. We're not going to be talking about Native Americans right now. Okay, this is a more difficult topic. I really don't want to get on it right now. I know I'm going to get yelled at if I say something wrong, so we're going to talk about that later, okay? Aside from Native Americans, black people are like one of the group that's been the most hard hit by past societal ills that have happened to them. The effects of redlining are still around. We can look at a lot of counties, especially in the South, and look at the ones who actually owned slaves, the counties that had high proportions of slave owners, and we could still see the same exact voter patterns happening. Things reverberate through time and history. Okay, when things stop, it doesn't mean that the problems that have come from that action have stopped. Okay, this is a really big problem. And when it comes to reparations, I'm not necessarily for cash injections, and for a plethora of reasons. We can get into that in just a second, but we can get into the main story here, which is North Carolina approves of reparations for black residents. Okay? The measure passed by the City Council of Ashville, North Carolina, would provide funding to promote home ownership, business opportunities, but stop short of stipulating direct payments to black people. The city of Asheville, North Carolina, will provide funding to programs geared towards increasing home ownership, business, and career opportunities for black residents as part of a reparations initiative. Okay? So, like we said, when lots of people think of reparations, they think of like just regular cash injections. These people have gone, the city council of Asheville seems to have gone in a different direction to think about, instead of just giving money to black people, allowing black people to have the opportunity to build money themselves. Because not only will it be more stable, but it will be in a way that's more sustainable to lots of these communities. The measure was unanimously upvoted. I keep saying upvoted. I'm on Reddit too much. I need to delete Reddit. It was unanimously approved by the city council on Tuesday night. And its goal was to lessen the gap between educational disparities, occupational disparities, and also healthcare disparities within the black and white communities. Because the white community is usually the one that is like the average sort of like baseline that we want to usually get to. Unplugging as an MTV. Yeah, what he means is that I stopped watching MTV. That's what the unplugging is. About 12% of the city's population is black, but Asheville actually has actually had a pretty decent history when it comes to slavery in this country. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I do remember reading about it at a point in time. I'm not gonna go over it because I don't want to be wrong, but they did have a very bad history with it back in the day, right? And one thing about this is that oh, you're a Malcolm X fan. Ooh, whoa, we got a problem here. Oh, no. Lots of people are a little skeptical about reparations, myself included, because they have to be handled well. If reparations are not handled well and are just kind of like thrown out and then they don't work, lots of people aren't going to use that as a case for why this type of reparations doesn't work. They're going to use it as a case for why reparations in general don't work. And it's going to put us back a pretty big amount and leave people with some like gotcha point that they can like point to try to make themselves feel good. We already see this. There are like some Republicans, some conservatives coming around on the idea of reparations, but just kind of like a blanket sort of like, here's $1,200. Just shut the fuck up type thing. Like I'll pay, like literally it's like I'll pay you $3,000 to just shut up about the whole like slavery thing. That's how they view it. Okay. And they think that this is going to like, and they don't think it's going to do anything, but what they want it to do is just be like be something that they can point at so people would stop complaining as much about it, so they can feel like they did something without actually doing anything. Okay. And that's a problem. That's a big problem for the ones who even are trying to like question the idea of reparations. The reason why I'm not for like money injection reparations is for a very plain reason, is because lots of black communities don't hold any wealth, or the wealth that they do hold is not in ways that can go back into the community. When a dollar is spent in a marginalized community, that dollar usually doesn't come back. If you're in a like a smaller community where there are lots of local businesses, if you pay towards a lot of local businesses, stuff like that for your community, there's a very high likelihood that that person who you gave the money to is going to take that money and invest it back into the community to make it better for the residents there. When it comes to black communities, they don't have that wealth. They don't have those businesses most of the time. They don't have that sort of infrastructure already there that could feed back into the community. So when they spend $1, the dollar's gone and the dollar doesn't come back. And this won't change if you just give a blanket amount of money to black people. And this is why reparations in this way does not work for fixing problems. They work in getting people to like shut up and be a little complicit. You know, I'll just pay you this money to just like stop talking to me. But this doesn't do anything in fixing the actual problems that these people have in their communities. You're not going to give every black person $12,000 and then like the murder rate drops to 0. Like the education rate goes to 100%. It's not going to work like that. Not because black people are just like genetically stupid or something, but because that's not how you fix these problems. You have to give them the opportunities. You have to give them the tools that they were disenfranchised from even receiving and passing on through their generations, like other groups were able to do, to have them be able to build the wealth, to keep the wealth, to make these communities that they haven't been able to do for the last 200 years of this country. That's how you fix the problems in these communities. Lots of problems stem from poverty in the black community. You can look at almost any problem in the black community and you can bring it back to poverty. This is what happens. Poverty causes crime. Generational poverty causes even more crime. Why do you think black people are so drastically overrepresented in the murder rate? Because like this is what alt writers love to point to when they go like 1350, you know? Why are they so like massively overrepresented? Why? Because like black people just like shooting as a meme or something? They just is that why? Is that why? No, not really. It's because black people are the majority of people who are in gangs. And gangs usually target poor communities, and black people are usually disproportionately poor. And what do gangs do? What's the main thing that gangs do? It's traffic drugs. So where's the gun violence play into this? Well, they have to use guns to protect their territory, to make sure that they can sell drugs in the specific area. And they can traffic drugs more safely, because not that many people want to get into a gunfight that often. Okay, people usually want to live. Okay, so this happens. They're protecting their turf. Oh no. And then that leads to gun violence, obviously. And that's why the majority of this violence is just gang violence. It's just gang violence. And that can't be fixed with just injecting this money into these communities, because the money will not stay in the community. The money will leave. People don't have the educational attainment to get better opportunities, because they never had the opportunity to get that educational attainment in the first place. They don't have businesses because they don't have money. So where's all that money going to go that you inject into these communities through the reparations? They're just going to leave. Even if the people are very cognizant of where their money goes. If every black person just instantly turns into the world's like best accountant, I don't think that you'll see like that big of a difference. And over time, you'll see the problem start to creep back up, because you never changed it in the first place. And a lot of people talk about reparations like it's something like incredibly horrible. We've given a lot of reparations to a lot of communities in this country. We can think about Native Americans in the first place. They have their reservations. They get reservations. They get their reservations. They get grants from the government. They get things like that. And we've literally, unironically, genocided Native Americans in this country. Okay, genocided Native Americans, and that's what they get. Remember those Japanese internment camps during World War II? Well, the government gave out $1.6 billion to Japanese people and their descendants who were harmed by that policy. With the George Floyd and BLM protests going around in this country, it is easy to look at what we've done so far and think that this is the best that we could do and the best that we can get at the moment. When it comes to a lot of stuff, when it comes to policy, that is the best that we can do right at the moment. But it's important to understand that people should not think that this is all that they can do. Like getting out onto the street, protesting, showing your voice, that's amazing and that's great. And everybody should be doing that to the best of their ability. If you can't do it, don't. You know, I don't want you to get your eye put out by a freaking cop's rubber bullet, okay? That being said, statues coming down, companies changing their logos to black, street names changing, things like that. That's all great and that's fine and dandy. And conservative statues being replaced with like more inspirational things. That's amazing. All right. Just in Bristol, remember there was that slave trader statue that was torn down and rolled across the ground and then freaking dumped, yeeted into like the London Strait or whatever. That was amazing and everything. And it was actually replaced temporarily by an artist statue of one of the BLM protesters who were there. If you didn't see that story, it was great. You should look it up. That's amazing, but that does not equal actual change. Okay? Do not conflate that with actual change, and do not conflate protesting with all the political advocacy and all the political change that you can do. It is absolutely not. You have to make sure you go out there and vote to get real, tangible change on the world. Policy that makes lives better for these marginalized communities. The black community is what we're talking about in particular here. This is important. This is what we're going to get. And this, when it comes to Ashville, is how you actually get it done, by actually making politicians hold to their word. Now, they weren't voted in on this. There wasn't an election yet, but this will help. These politicians are moving through these protests, through all this political agitation, and once again, don't take this as me saying that this is not like protesting and this sort of direct action advocacy is not important. It really is, and we've been able to get a lot done. We can get more done though if we make sure that we get out and we get these people who are angry, okay, to vote and to vote down ballot, and to make sure we push politicians to hold the sort of political views and make political promises that they will actually keep, to make sure that we keep them in office, to make the lives better for these communities. And this is one step. Okay, this reparations initiative is a great way to get towards this. And not saying that it's going to be the end all be all. It's going to make sure that we have to keep up with it. We have to make sure that the Republicans don't dismantle it. We have to make sure that the Republicans don't sabotage it, because that's what they'll do, and they'll sabotage it and then try to use it as a reason why reparations won't work. They'll try and push us back. Don't let them do it. Stand your ground, okay? Stand your ground. Take your morals. Take your anger, okay? It's one thing to be angry. It's one thing to use the anger to make the world a better place. And this is what we have to do. You have to wield your anger as a sword, forge it, okay, into a weapon to use, metaphorically, against our political opponents, to make sure that we can make the world a better place. This is what we need to do. And the most effective way that you can do that is going to the voter booth. Most effective way you can do that is get involved in local politics. Get those city council members on your side. Get the mayor on your side. Get the governor on your side. Get your representatives on your side. Push them. Go to town halls. Advocate for people who are running against politicians who are against these sorts of initiatives to hold these sorts of views, and then hold them to it. Okay, this is what's important. That's what we have to do, and this is how we're going to make the world have a brighter future, one step at a time. Okay. Good talk. Reparations can be cringe, but reparations, if done right, are very uncringe, very cool, very based, very red pilled. All right, we can make the world great. Is removing statues is simply not enough. Painting BLM on a street corner is simply not enough. Protesting and having a massive showing of force with you and your lefty buddies is not enough. We have to get out there. We have to get out there and affect policy from the ground up. Okay, all right. Thank you.